And yeah, guys, welcome to 99 Grit Academy. It is our vision here to inspire you to chase your dreams and turn those dreams into tangible design careers. So, welcome. Hello, Carmen. How's it going?
Hello.
Good. Yeah, no worries. Thank you very much for finding the time. Not a lot of people do tend to find the time lately. You know, I think that with this whole Corona madness, it actually I have less time than I used to. I'm sitting at home. I should have all the time in the world, right? But not so much. Not not something I expected. I was totally expecting the opposite. Okay, so let me just do that. I'm gonna stick an overlay. Oh, yes, very nice. Welcome. We are live, guys. All right, that's the scenes. There's 25 different windows here. Let me just put an overlay over here so that everybody knows what's happening. So we've got some new and kind of more people on the Zoom call as well. All right. Hello, Tiana. Hello, Nikolaos. Hello, Rajiv. Is it the right way to pronounce that? I'm not sure. Hello, Marika, and hello, Arturo. That's really cool for. All right, Mexico is here. Fantastic. I've never been to Mexico. I've spent almost a year in South America. So I visited on a motorcycle trip through the continent. So I pretty much went to the every country in South America. I've covered 40,000 kilometers there and the States, but I didn't go to Venezuela and I didn't go to the Guyanas and Suriname. But I would love to kind of go to Central America and kind of see Mexico as well. So but it's great to see you guys. Hello, Marika. Thank you very much for kind of joining us live and joining us with the camera. Everybody healthy? Everybody all right? Everybody safe and sound? That's good. That's good to hear. That's good to hear. All right, we're 100 hours sharp. So I think that I'll be kind of watching the screen. Hello, Jake. Thanks for switching on the video. Shows us you're alive and well. Good, good. Guys, I'll be kind of, showing around thumbs up and thumbs down. If something's understandable, kind of wave for those of you that have the video. I'll be kind of looking at the video as well. I've got some comments and reactions for the Facebook and for the YouTube here as well. So I'll be able to kind of respond to that also. And yeah, I think that we can, without further ado, we can kind of break this down and keep on going. So welcome, my name is Andy. For those of you that don't know me, I've been a designer of all sorts. I've started off as a UI designer over a decade ago. Then I moved over to kind of UX design, then service design. And then I became is it my phone? No, it's not. And then I became a leader at the company previously that I was employed at, Deloitte Digital. Some of you might heard about it. It's a big four, kind of a big consulting firm, and I was head of service design over there. And yeah, and now I'm kind of doing my own thing, which I'm really glad that I'm blessed enough to be able to do that. And yeah, today I wanted to show you the Mural app, the one of the tools that we use currently very, very heavily when it comes to our online remote work with our clients, with their teams, and how we kind of facilitate those things together. So yeah, uh, any questions, guys, to start off with? Anything that you would like me to kind of cover? Anything that I should be aware of? Hello, Jane. Nice to see you again. Any questions? All right, cool. We're good to go. Hi, Jane. How's it going? I'm good. I'm good. I'm really glad that you made it to another one, to the deep dive into the mural world. I'm still all right. All right, a good practice session. Cool. Really glad. Really glad. Thanks for joining. Jane was actually on our previous webinar, and she's given me a code, a secret code that you kind of type into the Word, Microsoft Word app, the application itself, that populates the screen with a lot of text, which was amazing to me. It's like I still remember the code. I didn't know that Word had these kind of capabilities. So, all right, guys, I'm going to be sharing the screen. And showcasing the mural itself. So what I wanted to do today is kind of cover the entire tool. We can design something together, and then I'm going to show you some of the tips and tricks that I kind of use to make sure that when I do run something online, I'm on time. I'm kind of compulsive when it comes to running workshops and being on time. For anybody that knows me, I'm quite compulsive that way, and I just want to make sure that everything's on time. So I'm going to share the screen. I'm going to go both on Facebook as well as primary display. Let me just go. I've got 3 screens here today, so I think it's going to be the tertiary display. No, that's going to be actually the secondary display. Okay, that's fantastic. And I'm going to share the screen on the Zoom call as well. And which one is it going to be? Is it going to be the desktop number 2? Okay. Okay, obviously that has been moved. Okay, I think that, let me just, I'm gonna make the Zoom window a little bit larger so I can see everybody attending. And also what I'll do, guys, can you see the screen that I'm sharing? Is that visible to you, like a white, clear white space on the mural? Awesome, that's great to hear. All right, that's awesome. Let me just open up the chat also, if I can find the whole Zoom thing over here. Okay, just move this thing, okay, to the side. And I'll open up the chat for the Zoom. You can probably see the Zoom over here. Let me just move it. Sorry guys for the technical elements. I just want to make sure that I see everything so I can actually cover that stuff. And I'm going to be looking at this thing kind of, you know, sideways. So just bear with me. I think I'll be able to cope with it because I want to kind of be open to the audience a little bit more. So let's cover it. So when it comes to kind of using Mural itself, if you go to Mural.co, you'll be able to kind of get access to the actual app. So for those of you that want kind of you know, an immediate access, I'm gonna type that into the chat so you know what's what. And definitely, you know, after we're done with the webinar, you can get out there and kind of, I think that they've got like a 90-day free deal that you can get access to the tool and actually start using it. So we've been using it quite heavily recently due to this whole Corona madness. But beforehand, I mean, before the whole lockdown happened, we've been actually using the tool for like a year and a half now, and you know, we've got quite a few learnings on the basis of that. So when it comes to the tool itself, I'm going to go back a little bit to the main screen with all of our canvases. This is one of the kind of rooms that you're able to create. I've created a 99 Grid Academy Design Thinking Bootcamp. It's BHM, so it's Business Hypothesis Mapping room specific for our trainings online. And you can create multiple different rooms, and they can either be open rooms or they can be private rooms themselves. I've actually have an open room. And when you log into Mural, this is what you're going to see, without all the canvases, obviously. But this is what you'll see as an empty kind of an empty dashboard. So I'm going to go to Design Thinking at Night, an open room we've created some time ago. And all we need to do now is basically create a new mural. And when you click this whole plus sign or plus button over here, it's going to come up with a kind of you know, an interface so that we can actually kind of browse through multiple different templates. You've got like team warm-ups, planning. A lot of different templates are available to us, you know, when we actually use it. But to be honest with you guys, I rarely use these pre-made templates. I prefer to kind of come up with those kind of templates on my own and make sure that I kind of leverage the capabilities of the tool themselves rather than using these pre-made templates, because there's always something missing. There's always something wrong with them. You know, that you just need that little twist to them. They sometimes are a good starting point to start with, but usually I just go with a blank mural and then I'm open to do whatever I want. And that's what I wanted to do today. And obviously you can browse by categories and types as well, but I just wanted to open up a blank mural. All we need to do is just click Create Mural, and off we go. And we are, it's generating our mural, and we are in. So this is the blank mural, and there's a few things to consider to start with. The first one is obviously the title of this mural. So I'm gonna just, if you click anywhere over here, it's gonna put that into your edit. So I'm gonna type in Design Thinking at Night, and we're gonna go with, it's 30th of April, right? 2020. So that's that. If you click off it, it's gonna kind of save whatever we've written there. There's a little drop down here with additional options, and we will get into that very shortly. When it comes to, you can add this mural to favorites, you can share it, export it, etc. But there's one particular option that I wanted to cover with this specific thing. But before we get there, I just wanted to cover the entire layout. So this is the mural itself. On the right hand side at the very bottom, we've got this these zoom settings. So this kind of shows us the entire size of the canvas itself, of the mural. So as you can see, it's pretty massive. So this little purple thing over here, it actually shows us where we are and what we're seeing on the entire mural. So this is pretty massive. So the way to zoom out is to actually either go with a minus, we can click this one, or it actually shows us in a little tooltip, we can do Command minus, or Command plus. So I'm sure that in any graphic kind of design a tool, this capability is pretty kind of well used and kind of well rounded everywhere. So a command minus or a control minus on the PC allows you to zoom out, and control plus allows you to zoom in. And as you can see, the thing itself is pretty massive. So I've zoomed out enough to actually see it. But if we would like to change the size of this entire mural, because if we double click anywhere now, it actually generates a yellow post-it note. So as you can see, it's pretty tiny because the mural is pretty massive. So again, I'm going to zoom in with a command plus just to get closer to this little post-it note. And the great thing about mural is that if you do a double click anywhere, it's going to generate a post-it note. So it's pretty quick and pretty easy to generate post-it notes. So to record any thoughts you might have when you're talking to people, when you're generating or kind of synthesizing any of the information that you get on a workshop. So it's a great way to actually put some notes together. And it's anytime I'm actually going to get rid of it with a delete or a backspace button. And the great thing about it in comparison with, I don't know, InVision or Google Jamboard is that when you double click it, it's already in your edit state. So all I need to do is double click and I'm already able to type. So I can type anything, right? And then I can click again, double click on either side of it. And another great feature about Mural is that it actually aligns that post-it note uh, to the top or to the side of the previous post-it note that you've actually put in. So so it actually aligns it together, right? So that's a cool feature as well. Another cool thing, I'm just gonna mute this time. Uh, Another cool thing about it is that if we change any setting of the mural, there's a little kind of a pop-up or a kind of pop-over element here that allows us to edit features or kind of elements of that specific post-it note, and that's relevant to any element on the actual mural itself. So if it's a post-it note, a shape, any other of those, you can actually edit that with this little pop-over. But before we get ahead of ourselves, I just wanted to cover the entire screen so that you understand what we're getting into. So we've covered the zoom feature on the right. So you can either go with a command minus or a command plus to get to the bottom of how zoomed in you are and how big the mural is in that context, right? So that's the first thing. There's obviously a little move mode that you can actually use as well, or you can use a space bar to actually do that. Good audio. All right. So if we do kind of tap the bar, someone give a Manui Spaghettini. We can hear you. That's just great. Great. I'm just gonna mute you a little bit, and let me see. Spotlight make host. Okay. Dun, dun, dun. All right. Muted. All right. Will you mute? Come on. All right. See, she's. All right. Come on. Can still hear you. Are you muting yourself? All right. Let me just mute you then. And that. Okay. Don't talk. All right. So do you want us to kind of? Do you want to talk to us? All right. My name is Spaghetti. She wants some private time with us. No worries at all. So let's just do it. Let's just do that. Pin the video. How's it going? All right. Let's do it that way. Let's do it this way. All right, Manu, we've got the last chance to either work with us or work against us. All right, sorry guys, I don't want to bore you with that, so I just need to do that. Unfortunately, or I'll just put her in the waiting room. All right, sorry for that, guys. Waiting room is a great capability of Zoom that you can actually put some people into the waiting room so that they can actually relax a little bit. So going back to Mural, when it comes to aligning things together, this is a great feature of Mural itself. So we can align things together. So wherever I click, let's say on top of that specific post-it note, it's still aligned, right? So if I click to the right, it's going to align all of those, and it's pretty neat to do. Another cool feature about it is that if you actually change any of those features, like maybe if you click this little colored element, it's actually going to, oh, come on. All right. doing this. Come on. Yeah, that's true. True. That's true. Should I be able to mute everyone? Okay, let me see that. Let me see that. Some more. Or do I? All right. So maybe I'll just lock the meeting then, because I think I can do that. All right. But I think that I've kind of locked the meeting, so I think that we're fine now. So nobody else will be to join, but I think that we're good. So that's. But thank you for kind of highlighting that. I have never needed to actually kind of use any of the security features on the Zoom. All right. Moving on. So when it comes to those capabilities of aligning stuff together, is pretty cool. Another thing is that if you do change any of those features of that element on the interface, usually, not always, but usually, and we'll test it out now, it actually keeps, if you now click again to the side of it, for example, it's going to keep those kind of capabilities, right? So it's going to again keep it red or keep it blue or keep it pink if you've chosen that specific color for that specific one. And also, let's check it out. I think that if I do click on the left hand side of this yellow one, it's going to actually maintain the yellow. So it kind of knows where we are on the mural itself, and it kind of helps without, so you don't have the need to actually change those things on the go all the time, kind of edit them. So this helps if you know about it. You can actually work around the mural a little bit more fast, kind of fastly, or quickly, to make sure that that you use the capability as well. So that's something that I found very, very useful. So getting rid of the post-it notes, and we've covered the Zoom settings, therefore, and let's just cover the top bar now. The top bar, as I've mentioned, the click to edit is the first element. So if you do a drop down menu over here, you can get to add it to favorites. You can share the mural. So if you click the share, another pop-up screen will kind of show up, and you'll be able to actually invite some of the people that are in your network that already have mural installed. You can obviously copy the link and send it over an email to a friend of yours who has a mural as well. So this is kind of a feature to invite people over that have the mural installed or kind of have, or I don't know, paid subscriptions of the actual kind of solution. But if you want to kind of invite someone anonymously that doesn't use Mural at all, for example, you can actually do an anonymous link, copy that one, and this is something I'll actually use in the second part of the webinar. I'll actually copy that link into the chat on the Zoom, so you'll be able to actually have access to the mural, and we'll just play around a little bit, do a little bit of a facilitation technique together with all of you guys on the actual mural. So in the second part of the webinar, I'll actually copy that into your chat, and you'll be able to do that. So that's that. We can obviously export that stuff as PDF, PNG files, and all the links, images, etc. Zip them together and send them over as well. So that's a pretty cool feature as well. Most of the time, I actually use either the PDF or the PNG to have the entirety of the mural intact, and then just send it away as a kind of archive or of some sort. So that's that. When it comes to these features over there and the entire top bar, we're going to get into that, but I just wanted to kind of ask you guys if whatever I've covered so far is understandable. Let me just see if, yeah, is that kind of cool, understandable, clear? Awesome. Let me just see the chat. There, bring it on. Hello, Joanna. Hello again, actually. Hello. I'm good. I'm good. How do you like the colors? The pink and the blue. Is that a better setup? All right, cool. Right. Yeah, although yeah, that's the same one. Although today I wanted to go like kind of a few levels deeper, so that we cover all of the features and all of the capabilities and more in depth, so that you can ask more questions about how to actually use it. And also, I wanted to kind of break down how to facilitate remotely, just to make sure that we kind of fit. If you have an hour's meeting, that you actually finish that meeting before the time ends, and you're able to actually kind of get to the bottom of the issues, and kind of manage the time properly. And there's a few features here that I wanted to showcase to do that. Yeah. All right. All right. Cool. Awesome. Any other questions, guys, or is it clear so far? Good. Sounds we can definitely do something like that. You know, I was thinking of actually covering a little bit more of the tool itself, but we can actually dive into I can actually cover, you know, with the tool itself. We can do a little bit of of a design. I can actually show you the process of design thinking while I'm actually putting the elements on the interface, so we can kind of kill two birds with one stone. So I'll kind of cover the design thinking process as it stands, and I'll use some of the features on the mural so you can actually you know, see the tool as well as get some knowledge about the design thinking process. Is that something? Is that okay? All right. No, that's all right. Absolutely. Oh, that's perfect. That's perfect, Joanna. It's like, you know, I'm trying to keep these webinars as flexible as possible, and as long as they need to be to respond to any question, to any need, and any kind of you know, any issue. So that's cool. All right, so the top bar. We've covered some of those elements, the mural settings, and the export, you know, and how to download the mural files, etc. And the kind of the second section, or the third section really, is the mural settings and the mural members. I don't really cover the members themselves because we don't have any here, but the mural settings is pretty crucial. So this is where we get into the name, obviously, the background color, so we can change that from white to, you know, slight, really slight gray, a little bit darkish gray, and a really dark gray. But from my experience, you know, having this a little bit lighter white, so that the white post-it notes, if you do use them, they are a little bit more visible when they are placed on that than they are on the white background. So I usually tend to use this one. And then when it comes to the mural size, there's quite a few elements available over here. And as a quick fix, they work. So you can actually set the mural size to, you know, 1.x, and this is a real human being in comparison to the size of the mural. So you can actually kind of see the scale here. Now you can do it twice the size when it comes to kind of extending it horizontally. You can do it horizontally times 3, etc., etc. And same goes for the verticals. But and you can obviously set a custom size if you want to be like pixel perfect. But there's another way of doing that that I wanted to show you, and that's actually a little bit more, a little bit easier for me, and it kind of works more flexibly, because all you need to do is kind of drag your mouse over to any size of the mural itself, and then you can just kind of grab it and kind of, you know, drag around to make sure that, you know, the mural is sized according to your needs, as you kind of expand it. So you can actually go right, and you can go down, right? So you can use these two walls, and the left hand side, no, it's just the right and the bottom wall that you can actually expand the mural by. So that's a pretty cool feature to have. So you don't have to kind of imagine how many pixels do I need to add to actually make this thing work, right? So that's that. So that's the mural settings that we've covered so far. This is what I use mostly. So if I run out of space, I just, you know, drag my mouse over the kind of the one of the sides of the mural, and I just drag it to make it bigger. And the rest is like, you can publish this as publish this mural as a template. You can duplicate it, obviously. So within the same room, it's going to duplicate it. So if I do duplicate it, it's going to create a copy. Obviously, you can name whatever that copy name is going to be, and which room do you want it to actually be in. So this is a previous webinar room from the April 23rd, and we can definitely put it over there. So we can just do duplicate, and off it goes. It's going to copy it, and it's going to be moving us to that specific mural as well. So let's just stay in the copy itself, because we haven't really done anything to it yet, so we can actually do it and work with the copy itself. So that's that. And, you know, the rest I very rarely use. So these are the main features of this dropdown that I use. Then we go to these two elements, and as you can see, this little facilitator element shows me that I'm the facilitator of this specific mural. So I kind of run the show, right? And this is a pretty crucial element to have when you're actually working with it. And when I give you access to the mural itself, there will be kind of I'll have a little bit more power than anybody else on the mural, and I can actually manage that to some extent. So when it comes to the Facilitator Superpowers, it's running the timer. I can, you know, make sure everybody is looking at the same things. I can kind of summon people together, and I can outline some of the instructions, you know, etc. And I can super lock some of the elements, and I can actually show that to you. But If there are some additional people on the mural itself, I can actually manage that, and I can add superpowers to any members on the mural itself. So we've got the facilitator over here. So if I have any friends that kind of have a subscription to Mural, etc., or have a kind of a paid account, I have a membership, I can then give them the facilitator powers, and they will have the same powers as I have, right? So that's that. And every time we go somewhere outside or somewhere further into Mural, there's this little dash on the left that kind of brings us back. So this is the back arrow that kind of takes us back to wherever we were previously. So that's the facilitator thing. This is kind of a status, so it kind of shows you that all changes have been saved. So this is a great thing of actually working with it, remotely, because everything is kind of being saved as you're working with it, right? So the possibility of losing it is pretty limited unless you actually get on it and kind of delete something or by accident, and it's going to save that on top anyway. So that's kind of, it's good when it works, right? So that's that. And then this brings me to these two icons, and the first one over here is a voting session. This is something we can get into when you're actually on the mural, and we will run a voting session. And what it does is actually starts a voting session. All you need to do is click it. I can start a voting session. So let's imagine that there's like a few post-it notes with something written on it, and let's imagine that this is option 1, this is option 2, right? This is option 3, and this is option 4, right? So if I have, I don't know, 10, 50 people on the actual mural itself, I can then, allow them to vote on one of those options. And the way that I do it is I just I click this little icon here, the voting session. I start the voting session, and a little pop-up actually shows itself, and I can name this voting session. So we're voting for options, and I can select the number of votes that I'm giving to the mural participants. So I can do, -5. I can go, how many votes I want to give to those participants. Let's say I'm going to give 3, and I can then kind of define who is able to end the voting session on this specific mural. Is it any member of this mural, or is it just me and any of the facilitators that I've actually given the superpowers to, right? So I'm just going to leave it as just me and any other facilitators and go with the next. And that's when the voting starts. Everybody gets this little screen, and it's telling us that if you want to click, if you click any card on the mural, it's going to actually add a vote. If you do a shift and click, it's going to remove that vote. It's built specifically so that you can actually click many times on any card, and all of your votes will be counted towards that one card, right? So I can begin voting. All of the voting is anonymous on Mural also. So if I click on option 1 and then I click again, it's going to give my 2 votes to this one specific card, which is something we usually allow for when it comes to this kind of voting. This is called dot voting, and I get a specific amount of dots to people, and they can choose themselves how many dots they want to vote again, kind of against any one of those options. So I can either, click and use up all of my 3 votes on this one option, or action I can kind of click on shift or tap shift and then click on this again, and it kind of disappears or takes that one vote out, and I can then click on any other option, and it kind of populates my votes this way, right? So it's a very useful option. We use it very often when we're doing these things. And as a facilitator, I've got this little window over here where I can end the voting session at any time. And also, we have one person already voted. There's this little drop-down menu that shows us that Andy Wojnarowski, I have 0 votes left. So if you have more people on the actual mural, you're able to see all of them and see how many votes they have left. So you can actually wait, kind of push some people towards, yeah, where's your vote? Make it happen. And on that basis, you can actually move a little bit, closer to facilitation and kind of making sure that whatever is happening on the mural within your workshop actually is on time. So that's that. And if I kind of click off, you'll be able to see, if I click off here and I do a drop down, I've got Andy Wojnarowski, 2 votes left, right? So it's constantly giving us live information about the status of that specific voting session, right? So this is a pretty powerful and pretty cool tool to have. So I'm going to vote in any way, shape, or form. I'm going to go end voting session. Also, if I do, I think that if I don't use up all of those, it'll give me a result in accordance with however many votes I've given, right? So it doesn't kind of stop. If you have the superpower, you finish the voting session, and it basically shows you the voting results for that specific voting session, which is called we're voting for options, for example, right? So that's the results over there. And if you have multiple people, you'll be able to see the top voted elements at the very top, this, and kind of prioritize from the most votes to the least votes. So that's that. All right. Is that understandable, guys, as far as the voting goes and some of the settings of the mural? By the show of hands, thumbnails, kind of down, up, everything cool? All right, awesome. Great to hear. How's their Facebook and YouTube going? Okay, no comments so far? Good. Well, not really good, you know. No questions so far, but no comments? I don't know if that's that good. But we are moving on. So I'll leave these options on. We can actually highlight them. Kind of, we can see we're voting for it. We can see the results live over here, and they're a little bit color coded over here. I can close these sub menus that show themselves in this little top bar with this X, obviously. So I can close it, and then those elements that have been highlighted on the cards as far as the voting goes are being kind of, not visible anymore. So that's that. So that's the voting feature, and that's very powerful and really helps. The second thing is the timer, which is another thing. I'm very compulsive when it comes to time management on a workshop itself. So it's pretty easy. You know, being the facilitator, you have the superpower, as it's mentioned here, of that timer, right? So you can do and set the time. So all I need to do is maybe let's do 1 minute, or maybe let's do 2 minutes, right? So I can start the timer, and then everybody sees that at the very top of their of the bar. They can see that time running out. And anytime I click on it, I can, as a facilitator, have additional options. So I can actually pause the timer, right? So it kind of stops and gives me a little bit of a notification about that. I can resume the timer. And one cool feature is, I can add 1 minute or 5 minutes, or I can end it at any time that I want. So this is pretty neat, because sometimes when I give like 3 minutes for somebody to tell their story or to present something, they're kind of going past that time. So I just, very quickly just add 1 more minute to their time frame, so that they have this additional minute to actually, close the train of thought into something concrete, and then we can move on to the next person or to the next team. So that's that. I'm going to end the timer, and that's pretty much it. So the one maybe unfortunate thing is something that I would really love for this feature to have is kind of maybe something additional, like a bigger notification to the users that there's like 30 seconds left or something. But the workaround around that is that I basically notify people that, guys, we've got 1 more minute to go. So kind of finish up. We're going to be moving on to the next step in this workshop. So I'm kind of managing it remotely that way, right? So I've got everybody on the Zoom call, and that way I can facilitate and kind of be in constant communication with the people on the call itself. All right, so that's the timer. That's pretty easy to use. Is that understandable, guys? By the show of a thumbs up, thumbs down. All right, cool. So that's powerful, really easy to manage, and that's pretty much it. Then we go to the next one. Yeah. Yeah. No, right. Right. It works. They have a Zoom opened up because they don't really need to see me whenever kind of we're working together on a workshop. So they are actually on the mural itself. So they're actually on the canvas. So they just use the link. They get on here, and that's what they're seeing. So they're not really seeing me and my face anymore, or the screen that I'm sharing. They are seeing that screen live as I'm kind of working with them on it. and they just listen to my voice through the microphone, that through their audio system. So that's how we run it, right? So they just listen to me over here, and we're all on the mural itself. So actually, what I'm gonna once I finish the top bar and the sidebar with the options, I'll give you a link so we'll be able all to kind of jump in on the mural, and you'll be able to kind of then we'll go to the second stage of our webinar, and I'll show you how to kind of facilitate those things and how to make sure that we kind of get it to work. So all right, no worries. So we have the share button. Obviously, this is something we've already seen, right? So this is the stuff that we're able to get access to through this little drop down over here. So share mural, that's exactly the same feature, right? It's just at the very top and really easy to access. And there's another thing in the export. Again, something that we have already seen in the drop down of the mural settings, but with some additional features. I've got some GitHub, Jira issues, etc. Some specific, maybe more specific content. But again, to me, I usually use PDF, PNG files, and sometimes zip. If it's a larger mural with some additional kind of photographs, images, I then just zip it together so I have it all in one package, right? So that's it. And then we have these options. I very rarely use them because I'm usually on the Zoom call with the participants, so we don't really use chat. But it's a capability nonetheless, so we can actually talk to each other over the chat, and we can leave comments, which is it's an interesting feature. I rarely use it when I'm using Mural. I usually use different tools for kind of commenting on things, but nonetheless, it's cool that they have it. So I can open up the actual comment window, and let me just see. I've opened it up so we can see the comments themselves, right? So we can actually, if anybody adds any comments, so you can add new comments by doing a right click on the mural. So it's not as easy to include those comments because you need to go like right click and then add comment, and then this little window pops up on the right. My comment is here, right? And then we send it, and then it is on the right hand side. I can close the window obviously, and then I can, anytime I click on it, it's visible to other user participants. You'll be able to see it, and then it kind of pops over or pops open this little window on the side, kind of an aside, where you can actually see the comments over here. You can respond to it. I agree. And you can see the history of how this comment came to be. You can see the number of comments or responses to this specific comment here. But it's a feature I rarely use for this specific thing when I'm doing workshops, because I have people commenting on it live. But if you want to have an additional capability of using it and kind of giving it to people externally, remotely, so you kind of finish the session, or you're working on something individually and then you send this over to the client, you can share the mural with them, show them how the comment kind of feature works, and then they can just start commenting on it, right? And and you can, every time you get onto the mural, you can see those comments being put in place so they can communicate with you that way. But it's not kind of a very easy to use feature over here. It requires quite a few clicks and kind of getting used to. So that's that. Okay. So that's the comments. Then we go to the activities. So you can see these are kind of all of the activities on my session. So if I want to review what has been happening, I can definitely kind of see the entire history of what has happened over this specific mural. So reply to a comment. The oldest elements are at the very bottom. And at the very top, we can see the most recent activities of any user on the actual mural. So for example, if somebody has commented on your design or any information you have on the mural, when you weren't here, for example, because you've shared the mural with them, you'll be able to see that whenever you kind of log back in. So you log back in, you can open up the activity window and you can see when that happened, like 11 minutes ago, your client came in and left a comment, right? So you'll be able to have access to that history of whatever was happening, and then be able to actually see what is happening, reply, and kind of be interactive with some of it. Not a lot of it is interactive, but some of it is. So if I'm, for example, zoomed away from that and I click option 1, it's going to zoom me to actually see that specific element. So with huge, massive murals, this capability sometimes is useful because you can see that somebody has placed a comment, and now you have a mural that's 25 meters wide, and you don't really want to search for that at that scale. So you just click it over here, and it drags you to that specific place immediately. So that's pretty cool. All right. Yeah. Like filter that together. I don't think there is. It's pretty simplistic. It's just a history kind of prioritized in accordance with time, and that's pretty much it. So you can see those guys. Maybe I don't think that there's a way to. Yeah, yeah, sure, sure. Let's do that. Let's do this like an outline. So that's some of the templates, etc. Not very often used by me at all, probably. And we have some help features. And then, last but not least, is the left panel over here. This icon over here brings us back to the dashboard. So I go back to my all of my murals in my rooms. So that's that. And then this one is going to open up another kind of segment of those features. And we have we can input some text, we can input a paragraph, and we can input a kind of a comment itself. So kind of through a drag and drop rather than just right clicking and then adding a comment, we have the capability of dragging and dropping that stuff over here. But as you can see, sticky note, title, comment, and an area is actually available from the right click underneath the right click of your mouse as well. So that's that. And then again, we have a way to drag and drop some of the post-it notes. They're either 3x3, 5x3, or they're circles, sticky notes, and you can drag and drop them pretty easily using that feature. Then we go to shapes and connectors. We have some shapes and we have some connectors. So if we use let's just maybe use this arrow and then try to connect it to one of these little kind of it kind of snaps in place. As you can see, it changes its color a little bit from like whitish into like a dark blue, and that means that it actually popped in place or snapped in place. And then whenever I kind of use this or kind of drag and drop this little post-it note, it's going to keep that connection connected to that specific post-it note, which is pretty neat when you're kind of managing or mapping processes out, etc. And obviously, it keeps those links together, hopefully, right? So if I connect it between like two different elements on the mural, I can drag and it still keeps those connections intact. So that's pretty cool. And then we have not post-it notes, but actual shapes. We can actually kind of change their again their style, the way they look, but also the size itself. For post-it notes, you don't have that capability because it only is going to scale it, keeping the aspect ratio intact, right? So it's either going to be a square, and I can only increase the size of the square, and same goes for this rectangle post-it note. I can only make it bigger or smaller. I can't really affect the ratio of those walls. But with the shapes, you have the capability of changing that into any shape you want, right? So that's that. Then we have some icons. You can search those icons, and this actually would be a cool thing to have, like Jane mentioned, to search some of the mural members maybe when you have a bigger mural. So that search feature would be cool to actually use over there as well. But for some reason, they didn't allow us to do that. So, all we need to do is just do check, and you can see a lot of checkbox kind of icons here. The library is pretty vast, so I think that you'd be able to find enough of icons to use for any kind of capability or any kind of any workshops you might be having. Then we have the frameworks, which we've already kind of looked through. We have layouts, design, agile, etc. We can import images or search for images if there are any. And there's also, we can import files from our computer, OneDrive, and Dropbox. And that's pretty much it. One additional feature is the ability to draw on Mural as well, which is pretty cool. So I can actually draw some shapes, kind of have a little bit of a capability to actually have like a flip chart online, so I can highlight some stuff with there are 3 different thicknesses. So I can do an ultra fine, I can do fine, and I can do medium, and I can also use a highlighter. So this is kind of a semi-transparent. So if I go with a red, I can actually highlight something with this specific element, and then it works. And then I have an eraser. So wherever I kind of click, it's going to disappear one of those lines, right? And that's pretty much it. So I just change the color over here. This is the eraser and some of the highlighters and the size of and the thickness of the lines. And once I'm done drawing, I do done drawing, And this is one of the biggest limitations when it comes to Mural. It's going to kind of save it as an image or as an overlay. And I cannot really edit it. So if I want to edit it, and I unfortunately have to kill it and then redraw it again. So that's pretty limited, and I rarely use it because of that specific thing. But if I do need to draw something, I can then use this feature. All right, guys, is that understandable? Yeah, yeah, exactly, exactly. So it is pretty weird, and it also kind of it's not that it's not a nice drawing if you like. It's like that it renders strangely, and then yeah, yeah, absolutely, and that's a pity because sometimes I forget that I'm in this drawing mode and I've drawn a lot, and I've drawn too much, for example, right? So there was something that was important to me as far as my drawing went, and then I've done some scribbles just to explain something additionally, and I messed up the drawing, and then I can only do done drawing. I cannot really back. I mean, I can erase some of that things, but the amount of times I made a mistake and then just click drawing and then had a problem with that was pretty big. So it's nice to have that, but I think that it's not kind of a native feature, something major here. So that's something you need to watch out for as a limitation of this specific thing. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to do an anonymous link. I'm going to open up for discussion as well. So if you guys have any questions, fire away. And I'm just going to go with everyone in the meeting. There you go. So if you click on the actual link, you'll be able to have access to the mural itself. So let me just do that. I'm actually going to go to the Zoom a little bit, and I'm going to unlock the meeting. Hopefully no crazy people will join us. I'm just kidding. Some people just have a laugh, and it's good. Let's have some laughs. Come on. So if you use the link, you should be able to kind of get access to the mural. Sure. No worries at all. So I've kind of unlocked it, and definitely jump on, jump on. So as you can see, the list, we have some anonymous koalas and crabs and monkeys, and it kind of generates a whole list of different animals with different colors as well. I haven't kind of got to the end of that library of those animals, so they're pretty creative when it comes to that. And as you can see, there's a you can basically put your own post-it notes, change their colors, etc. And yeah, just have fun with it, and just do that. So let's just do something. And what I wanted to do is maybe I'll take one of the titles maybe, and let's build a design thinking process as I kind of understand it. So I'm just going to drag and drop a title over here, and I'm going to do design thinking process. And one cool feature is if you click on at the very bottom of the screen, you've got all the animals, and you've got me as the facilitator. It's like it starts with an A. It's my my initial. So if you click on that, you're actually able to either follow me, so I can actually ask you guys to follow me, right? Or I can actually summon you to whatever I'm looking at. So when I do summon you as a facilitator, you're going to be dragged to whatever I'm working on. And this is a pretty powerful thing. Obviously, you're not kind of locked into that. You can click off and do whatever you want, but it kind of helps the facilitator with a huge mural when people kind of move around it, to summon people to kind of see what you're working on. And I can also broadcast my cursor or not. I usually have this turned on so that whenever I am kind of flying around something, like I'm kind of flying around the middle, you're able to see Andy and my name, etc. So that's that. I'm gonna zoom out, move a little bit to the side, and yeah, and just try to do a little bit of a design over here. So the design thinking process itself, uh, I'm going to call it the new way. And another cool feature when it comes to Mural is you can actually change the fonts themselves and kind of edit those elements as well. So we have this pop over element that we can get access to whenever we are actually working on it. And yeah, we can increase the size. We've got the minus and the plus, obviously, and we can increase or decrease the size of the font, so we can do it pretty easily, right? So we can do that. But the cool thing is that we have a list of kind of pre-existing fonts in Mural that can increase the readability and kind of more make it more of a fun factor when it comes to using of it. So I'm gonna use my favorite one, which is called Marker Felt, and it kind of gives this you know, impression of being written. I wish I had this kind of a you know this kind of character when it comes to drawing and writing. It's beautiful. I unfortunately don't have that, so we can increase the size of this font. We can definitely change the style of it with the font typeface, as well as, you know, making it italic, underline it, or, you know, cross over that and align it into some way, shape, or form as well. So that's pretty neat to do. But let's just move on. So the way that I usually structure these things when I'm designing something together with someone, or when I'm putting together a canvas for people to design on, there's a few things I do. I create those sections of the exercise. So I kind of highlight, okay, this is design thinking process, and I'm going to show it step number 1. Right? So I always highlighting, kind of keep a structure of elements for the people to understand. We have a certain amount of steps to go through within our kind of working together on this specific mural. There's one trick that I would put out there for you guys as well when it comes to typography. We've covered some of the typographical elements with Jane on our last webinar, when I learned a lot through the coding of the Microsoft Word. But there's one cool thing that I would kind of show you. I'm going to summon you to me so you can see what I'm working on. And usually what people do when they kind of want to make things more pronounced on the interface when it comes to typography, they make them bold, right? And that's just changing one thing when it comes to the typeface. So I'm going to change the font maybe to something like Proxima Nova to illustrate that thing. So if I want to make this design thinking process more pronounced, I just do make it bold, right? And that's just one thing that we've changed, and the size as well. So this already is pretty much enough, right? So the kind of the tip that I would give you when it comes to putting two elements of the typography on the interface visually, so people understand it and it's pleasing from some aesthetical aspect, use at least two elements of differentiation. So either use the boldness of the font and the size, or you can use the size of the fonts and the color. These are the two elements I use usually, either size and boldness or size and color. So I'm going to go back to my favorite font. I've changed to this one specifically because for Marker Felt, you cannot make it bold. It's the way it is, and that's it, right? So you can only affect the size, the color, and you can, you know, do like maybe italic, etc. So I usually use this one, and then what I need to do is we're differentiated only by size, so I usually change the color, and I just use this font color, and I do it like, you know, light gray, for example. And just through doing that, just using one additional color and a little bit of different or a shift in size, I can actually you know, make it more visually pleasing to to the participants. So that's step number 1. And then I just fire away with the design itself. So what I'm going to do is show you how I structure the tool itself to make it as usable and as facilitator kind of prone as it can be. What I do is I first take a post-it note just to get a sizing kind of so I know what size the post-it note is when I actually drag and drop it onto the canvas. So I'm just gonna go and summon you guys here. This is pretty good, something that really works for me well. So I put a post-it note on the canvas, so I know what is the size of a standard size of the post-it note, and then I go to the shapes and connectors, and I take an empty shape which basically shows us a little bit of a frame. It's exactly the same size as the post-it note, so what I do is I increase that very slightly, keeping it square. If you want to keep something with the same aspect ratio, all you need to do is just hold down Shift, and it's going to kind of lock in place. So if I release Shift, I can do whatever I want with it. But if I click Shift, it's actually going to keep the aspect ratio intact, right? So I click the Shift, and what I do is I create these little frames for the participants to use. So they kind of fit the post-it note perfectly. So what I do is I allow for the guys to actually, I give them the room to play with, right? So I probably increase the size of that, of the frame itself. I change its color a little bit because it's, black, and I don't need it to be that black. And then if this is step number one of an exercise that I'm putting together, and I would like them to maybe, I don't know, generate, let's say, 7 ideas, right? I put in 7 frames, right? I can then highlight all of those frames. A little pop over again shows up, and there's a little icon which says align on it. And I just do align. I distribute them horizontally so that they're nice and neat. I put them, because these are the ones that I've put later than the post-it note, I do a right click and I can send them to back so that they're at the very back of the interface, or at the very back of the mural, so they kind of form the backbone of the structure. And then all I need to do is lock them in place so that they're not, only I as a facilitator can actually unlock them and move them around. So what I do is I highlight all those elements, I right click on them, I lock them, and as you can see, there's a little kind of a pop over again, or a pop-up screen that shows us any member can unlock or only facilitators can unlock. And that's something I do. So I gave only the facilitator the power to unlock elements. So only facilitators can unlock. So I click that. And now, as you can see, guys, you won't be able, and I cannot do that either. You're not able to move those gray frames that we've just put together, right? So you can't really move those. And that's what I want, because now if I give the participants an exercise of, okay, design thinking process, step number one is let's generate 7 ideas about how to tackle something. I give them 7 frames to do that. So whenever I click, or double click, these post-it notes fit perfectly. And this allows me to manage and kind of, create this little bit of a psychological motivation for people to actually generate and have this appropriate amount of room to actually put the post-it notes in those. And I've seen it so many times, just because I've put those frames together, the structure information is more organized, and I manage that organization. So it's a lot easier to read it, because if I didn't have those frames and I would just tell anybody, okay, generate 7 ideas, they would go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, and then times 5 people. There's a lot of mess being created on the interface or on the actual mural itself. So through the this kind of capability of putting those frames and then locking them in place, we're able to manage the structure of our mural a little bit more. And I've seen so many people actually, when they see the frames, they kind of go, and even if they stick the post-it note and it's not aligned with the frame, every time I see them, like, yeah, I just want to nudge it a little bit so that it neatly kind of aligns with it. Yeah, absolutely. No worries. You can lock any element as a facilitator or a member. All you need to do is just right click on any element on the screen and a little show, and there is a lock icon and a lock word, obviously. And you can lock it in 2 kind of options, either so that any member can unlock. So I'm going to lock this one so that anybody of you can unlock. And it's locked, right? So I cannot really highlight it. And there are 2 ways of unlocking it. So I can actually either right click this specific element and unlock it, right? Yeah, to lock it. Just see. It's like a little lock. Yeah, like a padlock. So you don't see that option as an anonymous user. All right. All right. So you can. Yeah, probably, probably, probably. Although that's, the member should be able to actually lock it. Can you actually lock it and you cannot unlock it, or can you all right, all right. So, all right, all right, all right. So I guess you need the membership to be able to lock elements on the screen, I guess. But for the post-it notes that you've generated, Jane, try to kind of double click, create a post-it note, and then lock it up. Can you actually lock it? Mm-hmm. Yeah, you should be able to lock it. That's kind of strange to me that you're unable to do that. So I think that you should be able to lock those elements in place. And that really helps with managing the space and kind of making sure that the bottom layer of your mural, of your canvas, is kind of intact. So people kind of play around with it and they're not messing it up when they are playing around with it, right? So as you can see, all right, that's interesting. That's interesting. Yeah, how about Agnieszka, if you generate your, yeah? Sure, sure. Absolutely, Johanna, absolutely. Let me just do a share anonymous link, copy, and let me just type that into the. All right. Rebecca can't believe that she's a squid. Well, there's a whole library of animals. Uh, not too bad. It's not too bad. Come on. Again, could you repeat, Rebecca? It's all right. I can hear you okay now. It's difficult to kind of shape, kind of separate them out automatically. That's why it's good to actually lock some elements in place. So when you do put something on top of them and you kind of try to drag elements on top of it, you're not highlighting anything underneath, and that's something that's pretty crucial as well. Sometimes when we are running a workshop, I'm going to zoom out over here. The way that we do it, we lock elements in place because we then highlight whatever the participants put together, and we sometimes move it. We just move it to the next part of the tool, to the next step of the tool, for example, and we just want to leave these, everything behind. We just want the information to be moved, not the structure of the mural itself or structure of the canvas. So that's something that we kind of make sure that we have locked and put in place before we actually invite people over, so that we kind of manage the structure of the canvas itself, right? So that's that. Right? Is that kind of understandable, guys? By the show of hands, thumbnails, thumbs up. Awesome. Right. So that's the first thing that is pretty crucial when it comes to sharing a mural with with the participants. So locking things in place, making sure that you put that structure together and then lock it, so that you can obviously, as a facilitator, unlock that thing, but nobody else can do that but you. So that's one thing. Another thing, it's like 9 o'clock, so I need to wrap it up. I mean, I'm good to go, but I just don't want to bore you too much, guys, unless there are questions. So another thing that is really crucial when it comes to running these things remotely is time management. And let's just break it down into an example. What I'm going to do is right click and I'm going to unlock everything, because I want these, and it's going to make sure kind of, are you sure that you want to unlock everything? And I'm going to go unlock all elements. So anything that you've locked or I've locked is now unlocked. And what I want to do is kind of create a maybe two-step process of this whole thing. So I'm going to go, if you hold down the Option key on the Mac and kind of highlight the elements and then hold down the Option key and then drag and drop it, kind of click and drag, you're able to kind of copy those elements and move them at the same time, right? So I'm going to kind of do that a few times just to have a few steps, like step number one, and then step number one. So I'm just gonna summon you guys to me so you'll be able to see what I'm doing. So we have step number one. I'm gonna double click on step number one and kind of change it into step number two. double click on this one, and I'm going to change that to step number 3. Okay, what do we need to do now, guys? Is, you've guessed it, we need to do what? We need to lock it so that only facilitators can unlock it, right? So I'm going to highlight everything, right click, and I'm going to lock those in place. So now I've copied it, edited it, and kind of put a structure in place so that users can use it, right? And now we have 3 steps to follow, and that's where the whole time management thing kicks in. I've seen so many things, so many canvases. Actually, we're going to do it with a template. Let's maybe go with this template that somebody put in here. So we've got the persona document, for example, right? So let's imagine that this persona document is something that we would like the participants on our workshop to fill out, right? We want them to name and sketch. We would like to kind of name some behaviors and actions and some demographic and psychographic and needs and pain points, right? These are like 4 different elements of this specific Canva. We need to lock it in place, obviously. That's the first thing that I'm going to do, so that only facilitators can unlock it. And that's the first thing. So we're done. We've locked it. The second one is time management. And every time I work with any Canva, I always break it down. So we have a persona document here, and it has specific, very distinct 4 areas. So it's got the name and sketch, behaviors and actions, needs and pain points, and demographic information, right? So I already can tell that I need 4 time frames to fill this out. So I don't want to give this entire canvas to people and just go, hooray, off you go, and just have fun with it, and let's just manage the hour. If I have 1 hour and I would like you to fill it out, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add, let me just go with a text. First thing I do then is, okay, I have 1 hour to do this workshop. I've got this canvas to work with. There are 4 elements that I see that I want people to fill out. 60 minutes are in the hour. I want to use it properly. I'm going to subdivide the 60 minutes into 4 because there's 4 elements on that specific canvas, which gives me 4 times 15, right? So 4 times 15 minutes equals 60 minutes. So it's pretty basic math, but it's very crucial so that we know how many minutes do we have for people to actually figure this thing out, right? So we have 4 times 15, that's equal to 60 minutes, right? So that's 1 hour worth of work, and that's what we're going to do, right? So we have 15 minutes to run on the name and sketch. We have 50 minutes to run on the behaviors and actions. We have 50 minutes to run on the needs and pain points, for example, and we have 50 minutes to do the demographical information, right? Sounds pretty easy. Is that kind of understandable, guys? The first step into time management on a remote workshops is to make sure, or any workshops really, is to break down your tool, whatever that tool is, into sections that you're going to be running it separately as far as time management goes. And that's very crucial. You know, I'm pretty anal when it comes to time management on these things, but people usually tend to leave 5 minutes before time, thanks to that. So that's really crucial. That's the first thing. So I know that I only have 50 minutes to cover each one of those areas. So that's step number 1. Step number 2 is counting how many participants you have. So let's imagine we have how many people? Let me just summon everyone. We have 9 people working with us today, right? So I'm going to copy this text here, and we have 9 people. So let's imagine that we're running a workshop for 9 people remotely, and we only have an hour to do this tool. So we know that's 15 times 4, that's one thing. But then 50 minutes is for describing what we need to do with that specific name and sketch. 50 minutes is there for us to allow people to work on it, and then 15 minutes is there for us to actually synthesize that information somehow, right? And there is 9 people doing it. So we have 9 people doing it, and as I mentioned, there are 3 phases to this whole thing. So 3 phases. And phase number 1, I'm just going to go like semicolon. Phase number 1 is intro. So I need to tell people what I'm expecting them to fill into that specific space so that they understand what I mean. Second one is the work. All right, so that's the second one. So that's 2 dash. And the third one is some sort of a presentation or a synthesis or a synthesis. So that's that. So 2, 1, and 3. And usually 95% of the workshop facilitators forget about that. I mean, I've been working with a lot of designers, people that do these things professionally, etc. And that was one of the craziest things for me, that they don't subdivide their tools into those chunks and those chunks into further chunks, because when you look at my kind of agenda for a workshop, I'm down to single minutes when I'm running an exercise like this. So a simple persona document built of 4 sections for 9 people, to me, it's not simple 4 sections, and it's not simply 60 minutes. So I break it down 4 times 15, and then out of this 15 minutes, I have now 15 minutes, and I have 3 phases to cover within those 15 minutes. So I want to have probably, let's say about 2 minutes to do the intro, so I can tell everybody, what it's all about, what I'm expecting them to do. I give them probably around, maybe 10 minutes to work with it or something like that, right? The work. And I give them the remaining 3 minutes to present. And that is, guys, crucial, because out of the hour that we have for the workshop, we only have 40 minutes to work with the tool. And understanding that simple mechanic is very crucial to run and facilitate the workshops efficiently. So every time you have a tool, break it down into simpler chunks so that you know what you're managing, and then those chunks into intro, work, present. And now why did I say about the 9 people? Because if we have 9 people on the workshop and we would like everybody to have a say in the workshop, 3 minutes to present is not enough for 9 people, unless we do maybe 20 seconds per person, which is impossible for anybody to say anything within 20 seconds. So again, 9 people, and it's a simple math again. So at least I give at least 2 to 3 minutes per person to synthesize their thoughts and kind of present their way of looking at something, right? So immediately with 9 people, that's 20 minutes gone. If you want everybody to have a say, and you have 9 people running it, 20 minutes have just disappeared. So these are the elements that I consistently think about when I design these workshops and put them together. So I start with, to summarize, start with the time frame and the tool. Break it down and break it even further and think about how many participants you have and if you want everybody to have a say. That's pretty much the synthesis of this whole thing. Is that understandable, guys? The way to structure and facilitate as far as the management of time goes? Is that cool? Thumbs up, thumbs down? Yeah? All right, cool. So any questions as far as the facilitation goes and breaking down of the tools, guys? There are no dumb questions. You highlight it, and depending on what machine you're on, to me, I don't have a delete, so I need to just do a backspace, and that's how it disappears. So you just highlight it, and then right, right. Or you can right-click any element, and at the very bottom of that little menu, you should have a delete icon as well. So either, no worries at all, no worries at all. So it's either this or that. So that's that. Any other questions, guys, related to the structure, the mural itself, or how to facilitate and manage the time? No? Okay. So I'll just follow up with kind of the usage of those specific tools, specifically the timer, just to finish up the time management. So once I do have all of the minutes aligned and I know exactly how much time I have, I can then use the timer, and I use it excessively. So I go like, okay, we'll have now 7 minutes to work with it. So I just set the timer to 7 minutes and off it goes. And this is everything that I'm managing for the entire hour. So I know exactly what is the structure of the tool, which specific steps I'm going to be going to. I'm giving myself enough time to present an introduction to what we're going to be doing for each one of those chunks. And then I just manage it. And I just, it's a stopwatch exercise, and that's pretty much it. So when you do structure it in minutes, I can promise you that you'll be able to figure these things out very quickly and have that done in time. And Just through doing that, guys, you'll be leaps ahead of many of current design thinkers and facilitators, um, because they kind of wing it. you know, a lot of people kind of just wing it, and then we are an hour in. The client is pissed off because we were supposed to do something here. We were supposed to end with a result, and all you do is you're kind of okay. So let's just cover this particular element on our next meeting, and then instead of having one meeting, you have 20, and that's bad, specifically for our remote work. Um, so definitely something I would highly recommend to do with everything you do on an online workshop, on any other workshop, to manage your time properly, subdivide those things into simple math, and then just run with it. And it's pretty easy to do with those simple rules. And yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. So open to questions, comments, remarks. Looking at the chat, looking at your beautiful faces, names. Right, right. Yeah, yeah, right, right, right. Cool. Yeah, once you kind of get yourself kind of make yourself familiar with the side kind of panel with all of those kind of tools, the top panel, all of those icons, what do they do and why do they do it, and then the right the right clicks that give you some additional features, and the popovers that when you do highlight an element, you can actually edit the structure of that element and the styling of it. That's pretty much all of the capabilities that you need, and it's pretty easy to kind of get your head around it. So that's great to hear. Um, I'm gonna stop the share here, and I'm gonna go with. Yep, sure. Mm-hmm. Bang. Yeah, 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 yeah. So, yeah, well, when it comes to Miro, it's a little bit more, as I say, sophisticated when it comes to the features it has. It's got mind maps, so you can actually create structures of information that are more advanced, and it's kind of a little bit easier to create those links and structure it together. You can kind of put some documents into your Miro. With Mural, it's not as kind of native to the solution itself. So I would say that Miro is something that is, if you do have the need to put some additional features like a mind map, some documents, some PDFs, something that has that additional functionality, then sure, I would go with Miro. But to be honest, for running like remote workshops and kind of getting to the bottom of the issues, if you do prepare yourself properly with the canvas, with the tool that you're putting in front of people, and money manage your time and kind of make sure that you organize it properly, it's pretty easy to work with. And that ease of working with it is actually a huge benefit because it's just simplistic, and anybody that gets on it immediately kind of gets into how it works, and yeah, how to work with the whole thing. So that's how I find it being pretty useful in that regard. All right. Any other questions, guys? Tihana, we have Rothman, we have Jake. Everything cool? Carmen, we have Anoop. Thank you very much, Tiana. Thank you. Really glad. Really glad. All right, Carmen, bring. Mhm. Just you mean like a breakout room? Unfortunately, when it comes to mural, the way to do it is either kind of creating a specific section of the mural, kind of naming it or giving it a color, so that people can actually kind of drop and kind of work separately for using those specific sections of mural itself, or create additional murals, for that specific matter. So what we could do is we could basically go back, create a new mural, and just call this, do a blank mural and do a breakout room number one, and then add specific members to this one, for example, without inviting anybody else to this one if they have a kind of a membership. So you can actually run it this way, and they have access to it beforehand, so they know that this is their breakout room. The cool thing about Mural is you can actually open it up in multiple browser windows, and you can have the breakout rooms. Let's just do that actually. Let's just go mural.co. Mural.co, and I'm going to sign. I'm not sure. I very rarely kind of use two murals in parallel in the breakout rooms. I usually create sections for people to have that capability, but I can do the breakout room over here, and I can, yeah, I can just go get out of this one and go back to our copy of design thinking at night. And then I have two murals opened up. And the cool thing here is that, any post-it note that is being generated here, I can highlight, do a Command C, copy it, and paste it into another mural pretty easily, right? So it kind of goes from browser to browser with ease. So anything I copy from that mural, I can get kind of copy it over here. So any breakout room work that has any substance to it, I can copy it and put it, kind of copy it and paste it to any other mural. So if you really need that subdivision and people working separately for for a little bit of time, or even an individual person just working on their own, you can either do that way, or create a section on the mural itself. So for this one specifically, for example, let me just upload all of those elements. For the sections themselves, the way that I would do it is I would say, okay, this is the crab, this is the snail, right? So people that know, that they're a crab or the snail, as far as obviously the iconography of mural is concerned, obviously, they know that this is their section, and they just fill it out, and this is their kind of accommodation for the length of the webinar, or for the length of the workshop itself. So we usually subdivide the entire workshop into additional kind of two phases when it comes to individual work and kind of group work. So we want to make sure that there are these two phases every time we work with people on the workshop, remotely and individually, and kind of on the live workshops as well. Just making sure that they have a few minutes to gather their thoughts and kind of synthesize on their own, write some post-it down, and then present those to the other members of the group. So I break it down into, again, going back to our crazy time management thing, the way that I would do it, this would actually subdivide the 10 minutes of work, right? And the presentation. So I would say everybody has 3 minutes to work individually, and then have 2 minutes each to present it. And then we make a group discussion and a voting session, for example. So depending on the tool we're working with, this structure is pretty crucial to work with. And then if we need for people to kind of go to a breakout room, that's another thing that requires some time, right, to do that. So it's all about time management at the end of the day, and the structure of the workshop to kind of keeping it together. So does that kind of answer the question, Carmen? Cool. Let me just look at the chat. And Joanna, you also had a question, I believe, or was I wrong here? I thought that you were trying to ask a question. Hi, Anoop. Sure, I know. No worries. No worries. Right. Yeah. Do you have a G Suite or a Google account? Yeah. So I think that let me just show you it's called Google Jamboard. Uh, yeah. So that's something that I would recommend. The The limitations of it are pretty annoying because it's just small little A4, pretty much A4 sheets of paper and a multiple of that. And it's annoying. It's not as big. It's not as flexible. But for example, the drawing capability of Google Jamboard is vastly better than what we get on the Mural itself. So, but to be honest, I haven't used Jamboard for running these workshops really. So to me, it was more kind of using Mural for those kind of capabilities. And I'm not sure how expensive how it is. I think it's like $20 a month if you pay for the entire year or something like that. So it is a pretty hefty kind of chunk of money to actually to put together, to get it. Uh, so yeah, it's just something I've decided to buy because I'm doing it, very very often, and I kind of use it on a daily basis now. And also because I've paid, the freight, I kind of use it more because I've paid for it, so I'm just gonna, use it to the full extent. Right, right. Well, you don't need they don't need to pay for it because, as you can see, you're all guys. You're not kind of members of Mural, per se. You just need one mural member like me to share a link because this mural is mine, right? So, and that link is valid for as long as you want it to be. As long as this mural exists on my private room or open room, people have access to it if they use the link. So all you need to have is just one member account, so the $20 a month, whatever, and then you can send it away to 150 students and they can use it without any problem live, right? So that's pretty neat to have. Obviously they will have, there'll be a green elephant or a pink snail, but at the end of the day they have access to it, right? So that's what I would do. And it's also cool that, being an architect and design thinking, uh, it kind of comes around full circle because design thinking has been kind of, it's been developed by, architects as well. There was this book called Design Methods by a guy called, what was the guy's name? Design Methods. Ah, man, what was the guy's name? Christopher Jones, I think it was it? Yeah, and that was like 1970. And the guy, I think Christopher, he was an architect. And yeah, and he kind of came up with this book in 1970, which is basically the backbone, one of the backbones of, putting design thinking together as a process of creatively solving some problems. So I think that, it's like, using design thinking as an architect is perfectly understandable. Right. Awesome. Awesome. Yeah. Right. Perfect. That, that's perfect. That's perfect. Well, I'm a civil engineer from my background. I've spent 4 years as a civil engineer, back in 2006, 7, 8, then thereabouts, and I shifted to design thinking, service design, UX design, UI, visuals, etc. But yeah, I finished university. I'm a civil engineer, so I can totally relate to what you're referring to when it comes to builders, architects. The designer and the person that's supposed to be implementing that in field or in situ and kind of creating, out of the vision of an architect, creating something that can stand and kind of, withstand the time, etc. So I can totally relate. And the amount of kind of similarities I see between an architect or a designer and a builder or an implementer or a developer or a construction kind of company is immense. It's exactly the same mental models. You need to have a communication way, or a way of communicating your design to something that's supposed to be creating it. So it's like full on exactly the same. So all right, no worries, no worries. That's all right. Yeah. Mhm. Right? Like 3D. Why do you need 3D? Just because you're thinking of a solution. Tell me about the problem. Right? All right. All right. All right. Right. All right. Yeah. No other way. Right. So you would like to have a way to actually adapt your 3D models using Mural, basically. So it's not a design thinking question, it's a Mural question. How to use or how to adapt a 3D requirement with this specific kind of tool. Um, that's going to be a little bit iffy. Well, 3D, it's X, Y, and Z, right? So X, Y we have. The question is, how many levels of Z do you have and do you need? And how correlatable those need to be to actually make whatever you're working on make sense, right? So it's it's really difficult with when it comes to kind of switching maybe layers on and off when it comes to Mural, because the first thing that I would assume is maybe you could kind of layer it together so that it is a flat surface, but it actually provides enough layers so that you can cope with the 3D requirement, and that's something I would maybe work with, but it's difficult to switch those layers on and off with Mural because you can have two layers, right? The bottom which you lock, and the one on top of that that is editable. But probably it's not going to be enough for you to kind of work with that. I don't know. All right, no worries at all. No worries at all. Let me look at there's a comment from YouTube by Diana. Will the recording be available later? Sure, it will be available later. Okay, so, well, some of our people have already responded to that question, which is great to hear. We have a huge team of fascinating people, running the show. It's not just me. So, guys, any other questions? James, yeah, Liberson, how's it going? Right, right, yeah, 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 right, right. The way that I do it is I subdivide it, so I give enough of sevens. It's like I do. It's like I did it here. So I'm gonna. Uh, are you on the mural? Can you see the? I'm gonna summon everybody too, so they can see kind of my view. Let me go summon everyone. So can you see wherever I'm at? I'm looking at design thinking process the crab. Um, yeah, and I'm actually gonna share the screen so that everybody can see it as well. Share screen. Share it, and I'm going to go a live session. Well, there you go. So we have the design thinking. The question is, how do we run multiple inputs? So basically, multiple people giving the information or kind of putting the information on Mural itself. So this kind of it's a great question. The way that I usually do that is through the main understanding of running this remote workshop, that there are two phases of working with the tool, or any other workshop. It's individual work, and then synthesis or presentation, which is pretty much group work. Or to highlight it even better, it's I'm actually gonna do it with some post-it notes. Let's just do maybe blue ones. So there are three steps to it. The first one, I always use this one, is it's individual mode, I'm going to call this. Then we go into uh, presentation mode, and then we go to a synthesis mode, right? And when it comes to who's doing what, or what is the kind of the impact, this is like this is individual, obviously individual. The presentation mode is also individual, and the synthesis mode is group work to me, right? So I, depending on how many people I have on the workshop, I provide enough individual rooms for them to work on. So let's imagine we have design thinking process as a as something that I would like people to actually work with. So let's just name it, maybe not design thinking process, but let's just say generate 7 ideas. So copy that. All right, and I give a space for the crab. It usually is not the crab. It usually, is let's call him Steve and Mary. So I invite people that I know, that are going to be participating. So I don't know what kind of animal they're going to get. So I give them spaces specific to their kind of names or roles in the company, etc. But I usually say this is Steve's part of the canvas, and this is Mary's, right? So I then tell everybody, okay, hi Steve, hi Mary. First of all, I would like you to individually generate 7 ideas on a subject matter, right? So they do, and I give them an appropriate amount of time because I've calculated how many minutes every person has, etc. Right? I'm just gonna just bear with me. I'm just gonna open up the chat so I see if anybody's writing something, and they do that, right? So they generate. Steve does that. I give them 3 minutes. Steve does his 7 ideas, and Mary probably using a different color. So I kind of push people to use different colors for themselves. So let's say that Mary is going to be pink. This is so stereotypical, man. That Mary's pink and Steve is blue. It's like boy and girl colors, man. We're going to change that. Let's not be as stereotypical as that. Let's just do Mary's going to have a black color. Yes. A very VIP professional, like, yes, hardcore. I'm just joking, guys, obviously. So I give Steve and Mary 2 different parts of the canvas to fill out the information, and they do it individually first. I give them 3 minutes or something, so I manage their time. Then, and that's the individual mode done, right? So I know that they've generated, synthesized their thoughts individually. Then I give Steve or Mary, I give both of them the appropriate amount of time to present either all of their ideas or everything that they've been working on so far, or the best ones that they think are presentable, right? So I give Steve, let's say 5 minutes. Okay, Steve, please tell me about 3 of your best ideas. And Steve chooses 1, 2, and 3, and he presents those. And then I give Mary the opportunity to do the same. And I'm okay, Mary. You have 3 minutes to present to the group your best 3 ideas. So depending on how many people there are in the workshop, that's how many times I'm going to have to multiply the amount of presentation time. So if I have 5 people times 3 minutes, that's 50 minutes that I wouldn't say waste, but I commit to the presentation plus 3 minutes to work individually. So I'm going to do our little math again. I'm going to do this and change the color to maybe, let's do pink, and then let's change the color for the time themselves into, I don't know, green. So I give them 3 minutes. So everybody works in parallel. So it's just 3 minutes. Then presents. So it's 3 times, let's say 5 people, which is equal to now 15 minutes, right? And then everybody out of those 5 people knows what are the best ideas generated by the entire group because they have been presented, right? So usually I do provide an area on the canvas for Steve, for Mary, and for everybody else to choose that for themselves. So Steve is presenting his 3 best ideas, right? Do that, and I go, okay. Oh, come on. So I go best ideas for Steve and the best ideas for Mary as well, right? So they get, again, their own little section where they have the room to choose that. So when they're presenting stuff, they have a structure of the presentation given by me as well. So they're like, this is my favorite idea, blah, 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 blah. This is another one. And this is another cool idea. I would probably give them frames so that they actually put those three ideas into those three frames. Mary does the same thing, and so do the other participants of the workshop. So now we have 5 participants and we have 15 ideas that have been chosen and presented to the group. So everybody has a good understanding of what those ideas are, right? And that's when we're done with the individual presentation mode. So we've committed 15 minutes, everybody's knowledge is at the same level now. So everybody heard about the best ideas out of the 5 people. And that's when I get into the synthesis mode, and that's when I run a voting session. So the group exercise is all about the voting session. So let's imagine that we're the participants. Steve and Mary are here and they've presented. And let's do a quick voting session, guys, together. Let me just change this one to Mary. And I'm going to run a voting session, and I'm going to give how many votes. There's another equation that I would always use to kind of have the votes, or kind of highlight how many votes I give. And that's usually, if I have, let's imagine that we have 6 ideas over here, right? So we have 3 of Steve's and 3 of Mary's. And that's what we're going to be voting on. So on that basis, I pretty much give everybody 3 votes, right? And that's what I'm going to do now. So I'm going to give all of you guys, including me as well, 3 votes. And we're going to call this voting session idea priorities. And I'm going to do next. And you can begin voting. So let's just do the votes. So you can click around the mural, guys. I can see obviously how many votes are left. I know that Anonymous Snake has already voted, and I know that Anonymous Elephant has already voted once. I haven't voted yet, etc. So I am going to vote 1, 2, and 3. And as you can see on the drop down, I can see whoever has voted and whoever has not voted yet. So as a facilitator, I can actually kind of do a shout of, hey guys, where's the panda and snail and cat and snake? Where are your votes? So I can give the people the opportunity to get on it and do the voting. Or I can basically say that, okay, time's up, guys, and we're going to end the voting session. I'm going to give the snail the opportunity because they've just, it's a snail, you know, it's a little bit slowish sometimes, you know, as a snail. You get it, right? So there are some votes left, and I'm just going to go end voting session. End session for everyone. And these are the results. So we can see that there were unique 4 voters, and there were 6 votes given to this specific idea. There were 3 votes to these ones, 2 votes to these ones. So we have a list, a kind of a result of the voting session. So we can close it, and we can see which one of those post-it notes is the highest voted ones. And that's where I move on to another stretch of the canvas that I obviously have pre-made, right? So I just go chosen ideas. Chosen ideas. That's what I do. And that's like max 5, right? And I give that obviously enough room to fit those 5 post-it notes. And I just go, okay, this is 6 votes, 3 votes, 2 votes. So I just drag and drop this thing. Another 2 votes, and then there is, you know, the final 2 ideas are with 1 vote, right? So in this specific case, I would either open up for discussion, like openly, hey guys, what do you think? And if there is too much of a discussion, I time that. I'm like, okay, I'm going to give them 60 seconds to come up with a result, to vote which one is better, which one do we choose. If they don't come up with a discussion, I do another voting session just on these 2 post-it notes, right? And then I'm able to move the 5th one to the chosen ideas. And that's how I kind of remotely synthesize the discussion into something that, that's workable, right? And we just move on from step 1 to 2, 3, etc., etc. Does that kind of answer the question, Liverson? All right, no worries at all, no worries at all. Sometimes it's difficult with some more diverse kind of tools, but again, guys, any tool can be broken down into simpler chunks. It's like, I cannot stress this enough, you know, because it's really easy to kind of, you know, let people flow and have fun, etc. It's a lot more difficult to actually, you know, structure it so that people know exactly how much time they have, and you as a facilitator, you know exactly the result that you're expecting. And that's, I can't stress enough. It's really important to have that subdivision of minutes and the tasks within those minutes. And I promise you, if you do that, not only you'll be one of the best facilitators out there through just that, but also, you'll be able to finish any meeting before time and having people kind of satisfied that, wow, we've actually got somewhere. We've actually done something here, and yeah, and we've got 5 minutes to spare to do some, Q&A. So that's pretty crucial. All right. Any other question, guys? I'm looking at the chat also. Rebecca, that's cool. Thank you very much. I'm really glad. Jane had to leave us, so that's that. Any questions, guys? Hit me. Hit me with anything. All right. All right. Looking at the live session also. YouTube, nothing. Facebook, nothing. Good. That's perfect. We're actually running this live session on YouTube and Facebook for the first time, so we had quite a few technical difficulties to start with, but that's that. All right, guys. So I would like to thank you very much. Unless one last call. Any other questions? Anything before we go? Tiana, you look like you would like to ask a question. Yeah, Tiana. Thank you. Right. Awesome. That's really great. I mean, to be honest, definitely, really sorry to hear, about the circumstances. And I'm sure that, a lot of people, kind of have that challenge. I think that you're not the only one out there. I can already see. Right. Right. That's true. That's true. That's true. I can. This is the way to do it. And I think that once the corona That's great to hear. Thank you. I think that after the corona madness is over, and we see that this is actually the way to do it, and it's more efficient, and it actually works better, and we can have bigger teams on it, we're rarely going to go back to post-it notes on the wall. We're going to kind of keep this way of working for a sustained period of time. And I can totally relate to the circumstances, and I can see my pipeline kind of drying out a little bit as well. So definitely, kind of getting to the bottom of these kind of elements and tools helps us out dramatically. And I think that we'll get out of this dark valley stronger on the other end with these kind of capabilities. So yeah, so definitely, I'm really glad that the inspiration is there. So yeah, don't give up. Let's get this thing done. That's awesome. Great to hear. Great to hear. All right. No worries at all. Thank you very much, Anup. Thanks, Jake. Jake, do you want to ask a question? I can't hear you. I don't know why. Just bear with me. You're not muted, so I should be able to hear you. I don't hear you. Let's just allow Jake to. Okay. I can't hear you. Can you hear guys? Can you hear Jake? Because I can't hear Jake. So I'm not sure if it's something with the Zoom call. That's strange. Let me see. No, it's not something I can affect, unfortunately. Bum, 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 bum. Nope. Nothing happened. Try the chat, Jake. Just try typing it into the chat, and I will try to respond that way. So let's just give it a little bit of a breather. Just go back to my live session also. I do that. All right. Got this one. All right, just waiting, staring at the chat intently. All right, can you drag and drop PNG files or JPEGs so you conduct A/B testing with wireframes? You can definitely do so. So let me just show you how to tackle that very quickly. Because these persona documents, these are also PNG files. They're pretty much it. So, but let me just do that really, really quickly so that I can show you how it all works. Let me just grab any screenshot, any real screenshot. Let's just do, okay, let's just do Empathy Wines, the Gary Vaynerchuk stuff. There we go. So I just drag and drop it. You can still see my screen, right? I'm still sharing it. Right, cool. You can drag and drop it. It takes a while sometimes for Mural to actually kind of tackle it, depending on the size of the file. So it kind of creates this light gray frame for some reason, and then it takes it a while to load. But once it does load, there you go. You can definitely, again, what are we going to do, guys? First thing we do, we look it up. So we look this thing. So only if facilitators can unlock. And then we use the comments feature. All I need to do then is just take the comment, and I'm going to say that, you know, the rosé, whatever, change the bottle, you know, and send. So it's pretty similar to kind of InVision app, the way that the commenting structure works over there. And it's obviously connected, it's kind of the X and Z is connected to this specific place on the mural. So it's pretty easy for you to put that stuff in, get some comments on specific elements, and obviously run the A/B testing also to you know, to make sure that which one of the options that you're presenting to the users, to a specific profile, you know, which works better with this specific kind of feature as well. So I use it pretty heavily when it comes to using PNG files. I can show you one of the other canvases very quickly. Just go to, I think, this one, or is it this one? Yeah, the UX strategy, I think it was step number 3. And that's another training we've got on Udemy and Skillshare if you guys are interested, but it's not a sales call. I don't want to do that. So, you know, we can actually put some stuff in here. Where are all my cards? Where are all my cards? Maybe it's this one. Oh, there you go. That's the thing. And these are all PNG files, right? So these kind of cards for profiling people that we're using on our workshops remotely as well as physically. These are all PNG files. So we just drag and drop them from a file with a card deck. And yeah, you know, it's like age, family structure, etc. So these cards are PNG files. So definitely it's a workable thing, not only from the A and B testing or A/B testing, but also if you're running with a card deck or something that you want to use on your workshop as well. So that's pretty useful as well. Right? Is that cool, Jake? Awesome. All right. Liverson, thank you also for being here with us. Have a good one, guys. I really wanted to thank you. I'm going to stop the screen share. I really wanted to thank you for participating. I think this is the biggest kind of webinar audience so far when it comes to, you know, there was a certain point when I was totally overwhelmed, specifically with the girls singing. That was pretty funny, ish. And I just really wanted to thank you for being here with me. We're doing these things, guys, every week on Thursday. So don't be a stranger. Definitely, you know, kind of jump in every Thursday, 8 p.m. CET. Also, every Monday, 10 a.m. CET, we're doing a Facebook Live event also. But we're kind of covering more of a UX, UI, design thing, and not design thing, but design systems, stuff like that, more related to kind of interaction with the UI, UX. This is more related to design thinking, service design things, etc. Definitely connect to us. And there's one favor I would ask you guys, if you have few seconds, not just now, whenever you get the 2 seconds, we're really fighting for subscribers on YouTube. So if you go to 99grid channel on YouTube, that's the only thing that I would ask of you. So if you go to, let's just go YouTube, and I'm just going to type in the link. We're on like 87 subscribers, which is a madness to me. It's great that we have 87 people that subscribe. It's crazy. So we're kind of every webinar, I'm kind of organically increasing that by a few, if the internet works. If it doesn't, I'll just leave it that, and yeah, I think you'll be able to find us anyway. So that's the only thing. And yeah, reach out to us, you know, reach out to me personally, you know, Andy@99grid.com. If you are struggling in any way, shape, or form when it comes to design thinking, UX design, UI design, you know, portfolio reviews, whatever, guys, we are here to help. We're here to support. You know, I've been nowhere 10 years ago, and I've tackled, you know, I've learned a lot over this dreadful journey of mine. And I would definitely be, you know, happy to support anyone really on the journey to, you know, towards yeah, a result of some sort anyway. So this is not going to work. So thanks very much for being here with me, guys. Take care. Have a lovely evening or morning or afternoon. And yeah, hope to see you soon on the future lives and future webinars. And yeah, stay safe, stay healthy. And yeah, thanks again. Take care, guys. Have a great night. Thanks. Thanks very much. Thanks very much. Marika, Tihana, Jake, Carmen, Jason, thanks very much. Anoop, thanks very much. Agnieszka, Catalina, Nikolaus, thanks very much, guys. It's a pleasure. It's a huge pleasure. See you around. Take care. All right. Let me just close the Zoom. Where is it? My computer is dying here. It's absolutely dying. Take care.